To get the engine running as smooth as possible, it's really important to get everything balanced, and this also applies to the connecting rods. But there's a little bit more to it than just getting all 6 to the same total weight. That's because of the function of the connecting rod. It connects the piston to the crankshaft, and on the crankshaft we have a rotating motion, while on the piston we have an oscillating motion. Therefore, we have 2 different weights which you need to balance: the rotating mass and the oscillating mass. To the rotating mass belongs the weight of the big end, means the connecting rod with the bolts and the nuts, and also the bearings. I won't show the bearings in this video because they have all the same weight as they are completely machined parts. To the oscillating mass belongs the weight of the small end, the wrist pin, the piston, and the piston rings as well. To figure out the weight of the big end and the small end, you need a scale with a special fixture on it. Here you can see is the big end guided, and over here hangs the small end freely. Now we can carefully install the connecting rod to the fixture. The small end is now fully supported by the fixture over here, and what we see here on the scale is only the weight of the big end. After we had them all on the scale, we can now see that number 5 is the lightest one. Now we want to get all 6 to the same weight as number 5. To achieve this, we're going to remove some weight from the big end. The safest spot on these connecting rods are these chamfers. After getting all 6 connecting rods to the same weight of 522.9 gram, we can now flip the connecting rod around and get the weight of the small end. Now these are all the weights from the small end, and we can see that number 1 is the lightest with 177.4 gram, and number 5 being the heaviest with 181.4. Now this is very interesting. If you take a look at the big end, it was actually exactly the opposite. Number 5 being the lightest and number 1 being the heaviest. This just shows that if you only balance the total weight, you won't get a correct balancing, because the small end and the big ends need to be weighed separately. Now to balance the small ends, we're not going to do the same thing as we did on the big ends. We're not going to get them all to 177.4, because now we have a little bit of wiggle room because of the pistons. The pistons, as you can see, are made from cast aluminium, therefore they're also not the same weight. So we're going to weight all 6 pistons, then we're going to make combinations to put the lightest piston to the heaviest small end and the heaviest piston to the lightest small end. Now to balance the small ends and the oscillating mass, it's also very important to include the weights of the wrist pin and the piston rings. But these are 100% completely machined pieces and therefore all have the same weight. So we can just ignore them because it won't change a thing. These are the weights from the 6 pistons. They're actually quite close to each other for being cast aluminium, but yet still have the lightest 415.4 and the heaviest 418.1, a difference from 2.7 gram. Over here I already made all the calculations and the combinations of the small ends and the pistons. As you can see, the lightest small end was put together with the heaviest piston, and the heaviest small end was put together with the lightest piston, and so on. And these are now the new total values from the small end and the pistons. Before we had a difference from the heaviest to the lightest of 4 gram, The pistons had a difference of 2.7 gram, and now with the new combinations we only have a difference of 2 grams from the heaviest to the lightest. Now these 2 grams we're going to remove from the connecting rod right here in the front on the belt sander. We're not going to remove any material from the aluminium pistons because aluminium is much lighter. Therefore, to remove the same weight we need to remove a much bigger volume than on the steel rods. And these already being very thin, we don't want to risk damaging the piston. So, and that's it. All the connecting rods and pistons are now perfectly balanced. Thanks for watching.